Wait till you meet her. She's the female version of you, McNair. Oh, jeez. To be honest, a couple of days a week, the male version of me ain't all that exciting to me. But this is one of my best friends, one of my longest time friends, one of the smartest people I know, and his daughter, who I'd known since she was tiny, and now an older teenager. And she'd become friends with one of her heroes, an author, and they said, you gotta meet her. She's the female version of you. And I'm going, oh, stop saying that. What does that mean? She's an author, she's an artist, she's a speaker, she speaks on creativity, she's just like you. Except she's female. I said, oh, okay. Some months went by, and to make a long story, 7 minutes short, we met. We met at the launch of her, I think at the time, 6th books. She now has, 14, 15, 16. She was already a famous author. And we're at this party, and it's going on and on and on, and she's not there. And all of a sudden, I'm standing by the door of this office where her small company is, and there she is, 90 minutes after the start of the party. And I said, well, hi, you must be Susan. She says, you must be McNair. And I said, yeah. As advertised, she was gorgeous. So she was a lot like me. She said, we'll talk, and she went on her way. And I heard her throughout the night laughing. And it was this night-cracking laugh, this laugh that says, I'm going to laugh as loud as I think it's funny, not as loud as the room will handle or people will think is acceptable. I love that kind of laughter. I hate careful laughter. I hate careful sneezes. I hate careful anything. Careful is demonic. And some more time went on, and I was back in the Bay Area where she lived, and long story short, again, we had a lunch, a group of us. And afterwards, we're walking, and I said, hey, Susan, I'm at this church all day. I need to go back tonight doing one of my one-man plays. But I said, tomorrow, let's have dinner. She says, I've got dinner with a friend. I said, okay, lunch. She says, I don't get up for lunch. I said, Susan, it's 1 o'clock on a Sunday. You got 23 hours to bone up for this big event. She says, I don't do lunch. I'm a night person. I said, me too, but I can do lunch. She said, okay, fine. It's been nice knowing you. Well, by then, it's been a year since the first knowing about each other, and we were attracted to each other. Long story short, she picked a time and a place, 3 o'clock, the Ritz-Carlton Hotel for high tea. Now, just like getting somebody else to pump your gas, having high tea is a true sign you're a grown-up. There are no other signs. She arrives at this beautiful tea room 20 minutes early because she knows there's these 2 giant 16-foot high windows overlooking the Bay of St. Francis and these 2 key tables. So she gets there 20 minutes early to get one of these tables, only to discover I'd arrived 30 minutes early, was already ensconced at one of these tables. Me in my linen suit and sandals are draped over one of the chairs, and I'm sipping some lovely Earl Grey. I didn't know it at the time, but major brownie points for me getting there early and getting that table. Less than 45 minutes into a 3-hour conversation, she says, do people ever tell you larger than life? Well, growing up in the church, where, at least in my day, creativity was not something that was accepted on any level. It was mostly called, why are you so loud? I always knew that larger than life was people's kind of sort of nice way of saying, you're different, aren't you? But this is the first time I'd heard somebody say larger than life is a cry for help. She had 6 or 7 books already, all national bestsellers. Spoke all over the country, very well known. She had these posters of which millions had been sold. And I realized as I got to know her, I said, I've seen one of her posters, How to Be an Artist, and it's just big, colorful words. And I thought, whoever wrote this is a genius. And she said, do people tell you you're larger than life? And I just grabbed her and I said, Susan, you're not larger than life. Your actual size. This is the size of life when it's you. At that party of yours a few months ago, when you were laughing, I thought, that's a laugh that says this is how big life is. There isn't a thing wrong with you. You are living up to what God intended for you to be. Now, I knew she grew up in a church home, but was not personally a believer, a Christian believer. And she just began to weep. Even though she'd sold all these books and spoken all, nobody ever told her it was okay for her to be her. We became fast friends for a while, boyfriend and girlfriend, and we're still great friends and inspire each other. Just thinking about her, I get excited. Now, lest you think that I think to live up to God's potential for your life, you've got to be famous or even published or on a stage talking. I don't think any of those are requirements for being you, unless that's who you are. I want to tell you about my brothers. I have a brother who's an athlete, star football player. Even though we went to Christian schools for the longest time and played flag football with an L, when he transferred to the local pagan high school and suddenly was playing, well, that's what they called it at the Christian school, was suddenly playing tackle football, he saw it as an opportunity to finally hurt people that he didn't know. How bad could that be? And his first day at football rehearsal, because I'm a theater guy, and I said, if you guys would treat this as rehearsal, see, in the theater we do it over and over and over so that when the game comes, when the performance comes, we do it well. Apparently athletics is different than that. And he would tackle and hurt a guy, and he sent a guy to the emergency room on his first day of football rehearsal. Stress camping expert, rock climber, you name it, my brother's done it. Physical guy. I have another brother who's, he was born several weeks early. As my dad describes it, his wrists were about the size of my dad's pinky finger. He was in an incubator for several weeks. They found a blood clot in his brain, which meant the messages to the right side of his body would not be as good as to the left. He had, in fact, the diagnosis of cerebral palsy. And they said, so he'll be a little different over here. And indeed, the rest of his life walked with a limp and had a paralyzed right hand, but did fine. Shy, quiet. I don't know what he's up to today. Today, this day, Tuesday, but I'm sure that all day long, my brother with cerebral palsy will say less than I will say in front of you this morning. And he's fine with that. Now, everything I've just told you about my brothers is true, except for one thing. I only have one brother. His name is Todd. He indeed has cerebral palsy. He was born early. His right side is less dexterous than his left. And he less lettered in varsity football. He hurt guys on the other team. He's a stress camping expert, a survivalist. His idea of a picnic is to go into the wilderness, find a shady spot, and eat it. And he's great at that. He's very quiet. He's so quiet, in fact, that when we talk long distance, I live in Colorado Springs, may God be the glory, and he lives in a town called Sheldon, Iowa, so small that, as Todd says, if you get a map of Minnesota, Sheldon is right there on the map of Minnesota. And when I talk to him on the phone, I can't ask him questions to which yes or no can be the response, because he'll do this long distance. And I'll say, hey, bro, I hear the wind, but I don't know which way your head is going. Now, very early on, my parents, professional educators, were able to identify my brother and his physical prowess and his athletic ability and his desire for all things physical. And at the same time, me, just a few months older, were able to identify my artistic bent for all things, theatrical and visual arts and you name it. But because we're in a private school where from 3rd grade to 6th grade, our father was the principal, and trust me, I got sent to his office for cause frequently. But they encouraged my brother to be in the arts. And so he was, in band and choir and visual arts, and encouraged me to be in athletics. And so I was, played Little League baseball along with my brother, who played right field. And he would catch the ball in the glove in his left hand, and glove and ball together under the right arm, ball out of glove, throw the ball, and get the guy running from first base to second base out. And kids on the other team said, geez, what if he had 2 real hands? He excelled at everything he did. And when he took his first 3-week, all through the wilderness camping course with Summit Expeditions, his leader said, Todd said, please don't treat me different. She says, but you are different, Todd. You're better. She said, you have better natural instincts at all this than I do. I just have more time doing it. And when Tim Hansel, the founder of that organization, wrote his book, he did an entire chapter on my brother. Now, I tell you about my 2 brothers because he really is 2 guys, but he's all those guys. And I tell you about how my parents encouraged us in everything we did that we loved, but also encouraged us to try everything. Parents, if you hear nothing else I say all week, hear this sentence. I don't care if your kid is 29 or 2 months old. Your unfulfilled dreams are not your children's to-do list. If you want to play shortstop for the LA Dodgers, why not be on a good team? If you want to play shortstop, I grew up in LA, I can say that. If you want to play shortstop for the Dodgers and you're in your 30s, time to get a new dream, Sparky. Seriously, if you wake up tomorrow with a pulse, dig out that list of dreams of your life and dust them off. Nothing inspires your kids more than you pursuing what you love, whatever it is. So whether you're my friend Susan, and by the way, the women will know her better than the men. She writes under her nom de plume, which are her initials, Susan Ariel Rainbow Kennedy. Look for books by Sark, S-A-R-K. She lives her life actual size, but so does my brother Todd. Quietly, steadily, he works at Village Northwest, a live-in community for people with various kinds of physical and mental challenges. They think he's amazing, and they're right, because he's actual size.